Welcome back to the Polity. If you're just joining us, trust me, you've missed a lot. And of course, we just opened a new administration. And now with me in the studio is Dr. Lome, for a media consultant. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you.
And like everyone has been saying, happy new president.
Happy inauguration day.
Happy inauguration day. And it's safe to say, let's hope Nigeria will be great again.
I think for me it's a double celebration for Nigerians.
Okay.
You know, for days now, there has been this certificate, circulating online.
Circulating online, yes.
Certificate of
surviving the Buhari
administration. Yeah. So it's congratulations, Nigerians, for surviving.
So it's congratulations for surviving the past regime. So what are we looking forward to?
That's the point I'm making. And I said it's double, celebration, double congratulations from my own perspective. So the one I talked about is just one. The second is the fact that we have a brand new president who is just hours old, on the seat.
On the seat, yeah.
And you see, for me, it's very significant.
Okay.
For Tinubu, I congratulate him, whether or not he stays after the tribunal and Supreme Court judgment. So I think for the height he has attained so far, getting himself inaugurated today as President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Commander-in-Chief.
The Commander-in-Chief, yeah.
It's no mean feat. I say so because sages like Obafemi Awolowo, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Sardauna of Sokoto, and many top Nigerian leaders would have loved to lead Nigeria, and they did aspire to lead Nigeria, and never really got a chance, despite their efforts in that direction. And so for Tinubu to have managed to get to this point, even if he leaves office tomorrow, he is already president and would always be referred to as a former president of Nigeria. So for that alone, congratulations, Your Excellency. You're a dogged fighter. The guy is a dogged fighter. He's a study. He's a study in what you may call political courage and strategy.
Okay, what lessons do you think Nigerians will take away from the past election and given that?
I think Nigerian politicians should really sit down and understudy Tinubu. Because I've sat back against all odds. Against all odds, Tinubu was able to wriggle through and emerge. No matter how tainted the process that brought him to this point is, no matter how tainted. Because if you look at Nigerian elections since 1999, the elections have not been much different from what you have now, except that the stakes this time around, were higher, and the promises better, preparations better, and the chances of having free, fair, credible election better and much more obvious. But somehow he ended the way he did. And Tinubu being the beneficiary, whether he made that out by himself or not, he is the beneficiary of this. And if you compare his election and that of Yaradua in 2007, it's practically the same. So we can only hope that it gets better. If you really have opposition, I recall saying here on this platform that a virile democracy is built, erected on a robust opposition, very robust opposition, rule of law, and enduring proper party democracy. These three factors are lacking. You don't have opposition that is coherent. You saw them splitting into, the PDP particularly. It was splitted into three whole factions: the mainstream PDP, the G5 governor of Wike, and the Labour became a faction of a PDP when P2B took his supporters to the place, including the Obedience that also joined the fray. So you can see that opposition is not quite organized. loopholes that were exploited, those loopholes that were exploited by the ruling party to retain power, ought to have been envisaged by opposition and tied up by law. In other words, I keep saying, of all the provisions, all the explicit and extant provisions of the Electoral Act 2022, the most important to me, perhaps, is section 64 subsection 4 that says that the collation or returning officer must announce the result subject to verification and confirmation of results uploaded from polling units. You left it there. They should have put consequence. If a collation officer fails to do so, what happens? I can't find that. So opposition should go back to the drawing board and see things that went right and things that went wrong, and begin to propose amendments to future electoral act in view of 2027. You know why I said this. If you don't plug these loopholes, there is no guarantee that any change will happen.
Speaking of opposition, sorry to cut you short. Speaking of opposition, should they start planning for 2027, and we still have the tribunal in court right now?
They must take the two together, because if you are in the tribunal, there is something that says that you must win because you brought your case before the tribunal. For example, you are already suffering some setbacks. You're not getting the required cooperation from INEC because the labor legal team keeps complaining that the documents they require of INEC are yet to be delivered. Are yet to be delivered to them. But I wonder why they are complaining in that manner without passing through the process of what they call subpoena. Subpoena is the process of getting the court to give order for release, for compliance.
But even if the court had given the order, that there's the issue of them paying 1.3 or 1.5 million.
The money is never, the money is nothing substantial that even the lawyers could not pay with before seeing P2B or Dati. The money is not really the issue.
But they've come out to say they are not willing to.
If you don't pay, it's not the press you tell that you don't want to pay. If you don't want to pay because you believe that such payment is not proper, you complain to the tribunal. You bring it by way of motion, and they will direct that you release these documents without collecting any money. Is it the media that will direct INEC? So we need to get a bit serious here. Someone's gone. They need to wake up and tie the loose ends to see that they don't waste any more time. You see, I say this because the judgments I have had from the Supreme Court, one on beavers, one on double nomination, they are not quite cheering as far as I am concerned. I say so because the issue of double nomination is almost out of the way. And if it's out of the way, it is one of the major grounds upon which PDP and the Labour erecting their petitions. So if such pillars are systematically removed, at the end of the day, you'll be left with the issue of substantive law, which has to do with result, mutilation, alterations. It takes, for instance, what the BBC did with a reverse presidential result. They were able to prove, using figures, that look, this thing went to Labour, not to APC. So this is what you have to factually prove. That way, you will be in a position to tie the hands of the judges. So even if they don't want to help, you understand what I'm saying? Going by the law, the express provisions of the law, they will have no choice. But we need to prove these things, and the burden of proof, unfortunately, lies on the petitioners. You see, in other crimes, the burden of proving how Tinubu won the election should lie with INEC. INEC will come and prove how Tinubu won. But now, it's the petitioners in our own jurisdiction. It is the petitioners that will prove. Our jurisprudence and the jurisdiction, the process of prosecution and all that litigation is adversarial in nature. In other words, if you allege, it's your duty to prove. This is the general presumption, but it is not right, because if INEC just railroads somebody to position, all they need to do is to sit back and even deny you access to the facts you need to prove that INEC didn't do its work well. One thing Nigerians also need to understand is that going again by our own jurisprudence, you know, the presumption of compliance with the laws is in favor of INEC. In other words, the tribunal presumes already that INEC did his work well.
Yeah.
You see where the problem is. So INEC has everything going for it, and now they are not even cooperating with the opposition that is asking for certain facts that can only be validated by INEC, because you need certified true copies of those results.
Okay, so, let's take it away from that, and let's move to our new bride and Nigerians are the groom, of course. Let's take it to the president, no longer president-elect, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and his speech this few hours back, where he spoke about GDP not less than 50% growth, and a part of what he said we should be expecting is full range of domestic manufacturing. Electricity will become more accessible, according to him. Then he said, in particular, government will review all complaints about multiple taxation for both local and foreign investors. He spoke about agriculture, then focusing largely on economy, the job, and insecurity, of course. But then the question is, given 4 years, how long is it going to take for him to hit the ground running? And with all this list and everything he has said, how long is it going to take to actually come and say, oh, well, yes, I've done this? And are we looking at another person, Muhammadu Buhari, where it's going to take a few months for him to, of course, show us who his cabinet?
I don't think that Tinubu would be the same as Muhammadu Buhari. I say so because if you check the records of Tinubu as a Lagos State governor, he's a project-minded person. You know, he would want to make his administration sublime, so that upon departing at any point in time, he must have written, you know, his name, you know, on the sands of time. That is what I expect. Okay. However, the condition he's meeting is not cheering at all. You know, here he is meeting an economy where the GDP to income per capita, you know, the borrowing window and all that is it has shrunk to about 7%. You know, if you also followed over the weekend, the Senate had an emergency session. That emergency session was to liberate the ways and means window that the government has to access funds, you know, through some kind of a liberal loans from the CBN. It was pegged in the CBN Act at 5%. The Senate met on Saturday to move it to 15%, and then the House of Reps met on Sunday to concur with the Senate. What does that tell you? It tells you that there is no money. You can't even borrow. So they needed to create, you know, these windows to enable the incoming government to be able to even borrow. Do you see the problem? Buhari's administration, you know, shockingly, one of the worst ever. You know, because it's as if the president had no idea of what modern economics, you know, economics and economy really mean, because the policies he brought on and pursued with vigor, with passion, were wrong-headed. Even to people who are not quite learned, they can see that these policies aren't going to work. But he pursued them nonetheless. You know, because probably he didn't have quite a clear insight into the implications of some of those policies. So in his administration, Buhari, I mean, there was the absence of clarity of vision. Do you understand that? You know, I listened to President Ashwadu Bola Ahmed Tinubu. First, even before coming to the contents of his speech, I was quite surprised, impressed. You know, he spoke for over 30 minutes extempore. Do you understand that? If he was in a closed place, I would believe that he was talking with a teleprompter. But it was an open space, and yet he delivered one of the most passionate, coherent.
But some places have actually said the speech is not inspiring. They said we should have come out to say, oh, I know you have faced a lot. This is where I'm going to fix it from. Oh, I know this has been happening. This is where I'm going to fix it from.
No. This is not the place where you get that. He has already told you in his manifesto what is coming and bring it to the table. Here, all he needed to do today, which he brilliantly did well, was to reassure Nigerians that this is a new dawn. That's it. And he ex-tempore coordinated more than 20 policy directions and diversities, brought them together into a coherent whole, and was able to drive a narration. That is what is fundamental here. Very, very fundamental. And he touched on the vitals. For example, nobody should say he didn't mention where the shoe pinches. He talked about insecurity. He said we will go to retrieve our country from terror. He made that statement. He talked about the economy. He assured the youths and the women that they will play a prominent role. He talked about the economy, but the employment will have to be pursued with vigor and things like that. He also talked about areas where there will be problem. For example, the fuel subsidy. So look, there is no provision beyond this June. That means that the subsidy is gone. He recognized that is going to bring upon Nigerians quite a bit of hardship. But have we not been suffering all along? So we can
what's more to suffer again?
No, we can take the beating for a few more weeks and relinquish that dubious, fraudulent policy called fuel.
But do you think the economy should be worked upon before we can talk about fuel subsidy, given that even an average Nigerian cannot feed? And then whether you like it or not, fuel is something you cannot do with. If it affects if it affects cars, there's no way that's not going to affect the layman in Nigeria.
I agree with you. But where is the window? You see, the Buhari administration burnt the bridges. Nigerians don't understand what has happened.
Okay.
You see, Buhari administration is leaving behind a debt of 77 trillion. Do you understand that? And the servicing rate of 93%. That leaves us with only 7% income to be able to deal with everything, including salary and capital projects. How is that going to work? It's not going to work. That is why the Senate, in fact the National Assembly, is trying to move that Ways and Means access. To move, they try to move it from 5, it's now 15%, is to give the incoming government a breather. Now, if you don't do this, and you retain subsidy, then in fact the government will shut down in a month. Because there is no way you can use 7%. You understand what I'm saying? 7% of your annual income to even deal with the number one cost line, which is salary. Salary payment is number one on your recurrent expenditure. You can't deal with that. Our salary payment at federal level, gobs well over 30 to 40%.
Okay.
And now you're left with only 7% if you have to really keep faith with a debt servicing as expected of your responsible government. The point I'm trying to make is that I don't think that Tinubu has much choice.
Okay.
Do you understand that? So this is a hard one. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I think it's a relief to him because the outgoing administration did that for him. Do you understand that? And I don't advise him to reinstate subsidy. Let's take the heat. It's going to be tough, but we'll get by. We will pass through it, and once we survive it, the issue of the subsidy is gone for good. Because average Nigerians never really benefited from subsidy. These are facts. If you go beyond Abuja and perhaps Lagos, nobody buys fuel at the normal pump price. Go to the southeast, for example. In the last couple of years, nobody has ever bought fuel for the normal price. If you want to buy fuel at 197 naira per liter, you go and queue in the NNPC filling stations that are very few. So you may have to spend the whole day just to buy it at that. And Anambra State, for example, most of the people there are business people and therefore time conscious. They will buy from the normal independent marketers and move on. That is what has been going on in a place like the Southeast. So if you tell somebody from the Southeast about fuel subsidy, he may not really understand you because he has never been enjoying it. Much of Nigerian fuel finds its way to Niger Republic and places like Chad. That's where our fuel is sold.
So they even benefit more than Nigerians.
They benefit more than you and I. So why don't we just let go of this? For me, you see, if you let go of a fuel subsidy and they liberalize the fuel import process, and government holding only the power to regulate, what you call a quality control and all that, you'll be surprised. The number of top businessmen that will go into fuel importation. So it's a matter of time. Initially it will be tough, but if the process is liberalized, do you understand what I'm saying? And only, like I said, quality controlled. Many will go into it, and once supply is much, it will certainly affect price. It will drag it down, because you can't bring in fuel and just keep it there. You would want to sell, even if for just a profit margin of 1 or 2 naira.
Yes.
Do you understand that? So we need to allow subsidy to go. I'm with Tinubu on this one. I'm telling you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I'd like us to lay emphasis on something that the new president has said. They're saying, I'm reviewing all complaints about multiple taxation for both local and foreign investors. Now, let's take Lagos as a perfect example, where they are the highest paying tax state we have in Nigeria right now. So where from the angle is taking it from now, do you think this is actually going to help us? Because there's been a lot of back and forth between Nigeria governments and some airlines about paying of tax and holding their money back. Do you think this is something that is feasible for this said administration?
See, let me tell you the problem with Nigeria. It has nothing to do with policies or laws. Political will. Do you understand that? And the Tinubu's address came across to me as authoritative. He appeared to me as one who has very clear idea of what he wants and where the problems are, and that determination to deal with the source of the problem, not by offering palliatives or throwing money at the problems, because that is part of our problems. You throw money at problems hoping that they will go away. Corrupt politicians will hijack the money, and the situation is made a mess of, and the condition is even worse. You see, multiple taxation can be dealt with. It's a matter of really following, finding out, the taxes that are necessary, those that need to be retouched, maybe brought lower to be able to accommodate the income of the lower segment of the society. And of course, the tax he is referring to there is not necessarily something like pay as you earn that goes with the workers. It's not where the problem is. He is talking more about property tax, about import tax, import duties, such taxes. That's where I believe that his vision, his gaze is set at. He's looking at that, because when you import, you pay at the port of entry, you pay your tax there, you pay the customs, you keep paying until you get to your warehouse. Do you understand that? Even along the road, people are blocking these containers, and the taxes are being demanded. Some official, some unofficial, so much of that ends up in the private. All
of this require a door-to-door approach before it can be cut down?
No, it's a matter of, like I said, first thing is political will. If he's determined to get it done, he will. And he is to be sure that only the necessary tax and one stop tax, for a line item, and once you show your receipt, nobody disturbs you again. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
But if you have to pay, 2, 3 segments for the same good.
And some of these taxes are not even allocated to the federal government. We know that.
That's what I'm saying. It may not get to local government. See, the federal government is taxing through the customs and all that. It doesn't stop there. You have the state government queuing in, even the local governments. We find ways of also plugging to suck from what they consider national cake and all that. So if we need to know who is most appropriate to collect such a tax. Do you understand what I'm saying? And why? And if the federal government is the most appropriate level tier of government to collect such tax, the state government cannot queue in. They have to, if they have to take part, part of that revenue in tax, then it has to be sharing what is collected, not mounting another tax checkpoint. That's the point I'm making. Okay. And it will be better that way for us, because it will liberalize the process. In fact, if the average Onitsha importer tells you what he sees from Lagos port to Onitsha main market, you will not believe it. Do you understand that? You'll be surprised that he spends well more than $1 million to move one container from this is what happens on the road, to move one container, a single container, from Apapa port to Onitsha main market. And it is the same thing around the country. You need to streamline all these things. When you do so, you will be able to plug the necessary loopholes. So such duplications in tax collection is not good for the economy. The president has an understanding of course, himself is coming from the private sector, more or less. So he understands how these things work and how they affect the economy. Yeah. So if I think it will be a lot of relief to manufacturers, importers, and exporters, because they just know the tax to pay, who to pay to, and nobody else will show up along the line and begin to press for any payment that may not even be legal.
Okay, we can talk about the economy without mentioning the security in Nigeria right now. And then I'd like to take us back to the 7 agenda that was during the campaign. That's Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu security blueprint, which they brought forward. And part of it was to bolster our security forces. My attention was caught to redefining military doctrine and practices. And given that he doesn't have past experiences with the military, how visible do you think this is going to be coming for the next 100 days?
He doesn't have to have any military background to do well in security. Okay. Do you understand that? Yar'Adua did well in security. Okay. Good luck, Jonathan did fairly well in security. And if you compare the performance of even Jonathan with that of President Muhammadu Buhari, I don't see where the military experience of Buhari has really helped in making him any better in terms of discharging his presidential responsibilities where it came to security. Because the country recorded no deaths. I saw a source that said that in the last 8 years, about 52,000 Nigerians died. Do you know what that means? A credible source. And the deaths were coming from,
and that's probably the ones who accounted for.
That's the ones that are officially reflected. Yes. So you can see that under a retired general, we recorded more. And before his coming in 2015, we had only the problem of Boko Haram terrorism, restricted to Zambia Forest and perhaps about 4 local governments in Borno State. But today, we are not done with it, and we have added the bandits that have been adjudged as the second terrorist organization in Nigeria. The headsmen, they have always been a terrorist organization as far as I am concerned, because they are listed on terrorism index as the 4th or the 5th most terrorist or terror groups in the whole world. So it's not just my opinion, it's something you can Google and find out. And we saw that they enjoyed free reign under Muhammadu Buhari. We didn't see any check on them We did it. We didn't see any check.
They were sent to the rehab, and then they brought them out to say, oh, these people have made restitutions and they should be released to the society.
That's the point I'm making here. Okay. You know, you see, on both sides said that one man's a terrorist, maybe another man's a freedom fighter. You know, because if I am the one driving, anti-terror campaign, I will not be part of a policy like Operation Safe Corridor, where you rehabilitate, murderers, right? You rehabilitate murderers, clothe them, send them overseas for better education, house them in Nigeria. Do you understand that? I will not, I can't, because of my understanding of terrorism. But some people are driving the policy at the moment, and they have their own reason why they are driving the policy. And you are rehabilitating these people and unleashing them on their victims. And at the end of the day, nobody is even sure that you did proper classification of these people to ensure that indeed that they are repentant. Because, terrorists who are pressed by Nigerian military and ISIS, finding themselves trapped in the middle, can just take to such a policy as a way of escaping criminal responsibility.
True.
Yes, they can. So I have my doubts that such people are actually truly repentant. And if they are not truly repentant, under normal what we call favorable conditions, what we call recidivism, in forensic psychology may occur. Recidivism means recurrence or reoccurring of the same offense.
The same offense, yeah.
It's like a seed. A seed in dry season is dormant. But if you drop it, if you drop the seed on a favorable soil, especially in wet season, you see it sprouting and growing again. Such rehabilitation, such reintegration has the same propensity as a dry seed that can blossom again. I just pray and pray very hard that I am wrong. Yes.
Okay, now let's move it still on insecurity. Now let's still move it to securing our border and forest, integrated identity database, given that Nigeria is not looking forward to, we're still one of the developing countries in the world. How visible is that equally? Then it said international collaboration. Then of course we know the police has to be reformed one way or the other. And do you think these are things that are visible right now?
The police particularly is a very pathetic situation. And the Nigeria Police Force has been one of the victims of the variegated military administrations. Each time the military intervened in the years gone by, they relegate the police to the background because they see the police as sort of a rival force. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because they are the ones closer to the people, and they actually provide the buffer between the people and the government. So you can see why the military don't really give them the kind of attention they deserve. So the police need to be reinvigorated. Not just a number, like Tinubu said, not just a matter of numbers. Training. They need to be retrained. The average Nigerian police man or woman is not really a civil person. You find those who are civil, maybe amongst their elite cadre. You understand what I'm saying? The graduate ones, but even at that, when we get close enough, you'll be shocked.
I like that. I like that you mentioned the elite and all that. I'd like to take a detour and take us back to a few weeks ago where they spoke about the police reform policies and then their buildings where they are being trained. And all of this, they said, is this supposed to be a major contributing factor to why we have Nigerian police the way they are right now? And given that the salary is barely enough.
That's it. That's part of it. You see, the case of the Nigerian police is like, training somebody, kitting the person up, giving the person a gun, and then sending him or her off on an empty stomach. This just summarizes the way you should see the condition of the Nigerian police. Because they are underpaid, they are undertrained, they are underarmed. they don't have enough. Even in terms of manpower, you have just about 400 and something thousand police officers and men. You know, certainly less than, I don't know, because they've done some recruitments in the recent past, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, I don't know how many now, but I'm sure that they are not yet up to 500,000. And out of this figure, about 150,000 and 200,000 police officers and men are following big men around. You see a police inspector, perhaps, you know, a higher officer carrying the bag of a minister's wife. Do you get the point? You know, but that's it. You don't blame the policeman if carrying Oga Madam's bag would put food on the table. Why not? Do you get the point? But there is a way you will review and reorganize and really truly motivate the Nigeria police. Officers will even reject such posting. They want to be part of the action. They want to face the statutory responsibility of the police. But many of them would even bribe to go to where they can see food on their table. Because where you are, you can get. Do you understand that? You can go through divisional police commands, particularly in the rural areas, no vehicles. The vehicles you see are dilapidated, they are not serviceable. The ones that are serviceable, no fuel. You'll be surprised that the whole DPO has maybe just 10 or 20,000 naira to run the division for a whole month. And you expect him to use his money to run when the 20,000 naira is finished, if you call the division to intervene in anything, you tell you what?
There is nothing we can do right now. There's a case of this police issue where you say armed robbers visits people and then you call the police station and they tell you there's no fuel in the police van to come, and or then you see them coming after the armed robbers and rob the whole entire street, and then that's when they come in and you hear the siren, and the Nigerians are saying, what are they there for?
They are not there. You know, you see, it's not the fault of the police. Like I said, but the society has not played its own part. We as a people, through our government, must first train our police. Train them. You need to train them. You need to pay them well. In a country like Finland, the highest paying jobs, do you know what those jobs are? The police and the teacher. They know what they are doing. In Germany, it's almost the same thing. In Germany, a teacher receives, more money than even a minister. And Merkel, Angela Merkel, right? The former president of that country that just left a year or two ago, when she was asked a question, why do you pay teachers more? She said, you want me to be paying you more than as you pay the person that produced you? But today, the teachers in Nigeria are the least paid with the police. Do you get the point here now? They are the least paid. The professor in the university receives less than $500,000. You can find out. And the security and education are supposed to be the major thing. Major. These are the two. You see, the president's address, I wouldn't want to say the address fell short on the specifics, because I didn't expect it to really be exhaustive in terms of engaging Nigerians on policy trust and policy details. I didn't expect that, and again, he also bailed himself by saying that, look, he has spoken enough today that in days and weeks to come, that the details will follow for him and for his team. I think that is, but I know that he should be aware of the fact that security, education, health. Do you understand what I'm saying? These sectors are key, and if he has to really register, make his administration sublime, so that anytime he leaves office, he must have left his footprints on the sands of time. He must pay attention to some of these areas. Of course, he implicated in his speech that there's nothing you can do without security. Yes. So, and let me also put it this way, that there will be no security until you have a proper Nigeria police force. You know why? It is the modern security agency. The Nigerian military is stretched to the limit now because the police is inadequate. So you see the military, even making serious incursions into internal policing, police services. You see even the military on checkpoints.
But do you think the police has been compromised in a way, or them compromising them, like you made mention, a police officer carrying madam's bag, believing that that's a better way to get money than of course securing lives and property? Do you think this is part of
you see, I'll answer your question this way.
Okay.
As a Christian, I'll find it difficult preaching, do not steal, when I know you have no legitimate ways of earning an income. That's my answer.
Okay, all right, thank you very much for that. And Dr. Law, before we go, I'd like us to quickly take this tweet. I saw on Twitter a few minutes back. Goodluck Jonathan was going to remove fuel subsidy. That's coming from Kelvin Ondas on Twitter. He said Goodluck Jonathan was going to remove subsidy with palliatives and other measures so poor people don't feel the effect so much. We protested. That's what we said, Nigerians. And now 10 years later, after Buhari has shown us shege, fuel subsidy will be removed with no palliatives or anything. Penny wise, pound foolish.
Yeah, in retrospect, the observation is right, historically correct. I was one of those that really campaigned that Buhari shouldn't come. I campaigned seriously, and by everything Buhari did, we predicted them. In fact, he didn't even stretch to the limits that we predicted. For example, I did not expect Buhari to leave the political space open for press freedom. But if you notice, press was generally free under him. It's something you must give to him. Do you understand what I'm saying? You see, the issue is this. Everybody is a philosopher in retrospect. After, somebody said that we are used to leaders who leap before they look. You should look before you leap. But now we leap before we look. Maybe we are jumping into a ditch, a well filled with water or boiling oil, but we have leapt. That's our situation. Because I was there, very active politically, and the campaign then was anything but Jonathan, anybody but Jonathan, everybody. Do you understand that? And we did away with Jonathan, and those who actually campaigned for Jonathan to go at all costs, very top Nigerians. I don't want to mention names, but they know themselves. When I say top, I mean top most Nigerians that we are saying anybody but Jonathan. And of course, Buhari benefited from that. He was able to construct his campaign around that and built on three pillars. Fight against corruption. Jonathan was corrupt, and once Buhari comes in, Megaskia, that is a popular name amongst the Talakawas of Nigeria. Megaskia, we believe that once he comes in, clean sweep, he will come with a new broom and clean out corruption from Nigeria. Today we know better. Corruption is worse now. That is a fact. The records are there. Corruption is worse now. Do you understand that? In local palace, you say corruption don't tie rapper. The waka. The other pillar was insecurity. We say yes, a retired general. Once he comes in, he's been there before as head of state. A retired general, if he comes in now, in fact, even the bandits and the terrorists will run away by merely hearing that Buhari is in power. That didn't happen on the economy. You can see our economy today in tatters. However, he scored, a few goods, and I must acknowledge in the area of infrastructure. Abi Buhari did well there. He constructed some very vital highways. Even though one of the highways is the 10 carriageway he constructed from Daura to from Katsina, to Niger Republic. He included railway. He also constructed some railways and bridges. Second largest bridge is one. The one in Jeba. There's another one in Ekom. There's one connecting Benue and Nasarawa State. These are vital connections for the country. And of course, under him also, we saw that what we call non-oil sector started contributing more to the Nigerian economy. Those were some pluses for him. So on a scale of 1 to 10, right? I am a lecturer.
Okay. I
will give Buhari 30%, 3 over 10. And I am sure that I am being generous with this man.
With the 3 over 10.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Dr. Law. We'll leave on that note. With President Buhari 3 over 10.
That's
viewers, you've heard that, and thank you for joining us today on the press and once on Polity. I beg your pardon. And of course, thank you once again for staying tuned. And of course, not just that, congratulations on the new administration. We pray God bless Nigeria. That is where we'll wrap it up for the Polity for today. I remain Mercy Babajide. See you same time, same station tomorrow. Bye.